Have you ever wondered who really controls the food on your plate? Not the brands, not the restaurants. We're talking about the families, the actual people who sit at the very top of the food industry. People you've probably never heard of. No viral interviews, no flashy magazine covers, just quiet, calculated control over what the world eats every single day. In this video, we're going to uncover two of the most secretive and powerful families in global food: the Mars family and the Cargill family. They're not just rich, they own empires that influence everything from chocolate bars to global grain markets. And most shockingly, they've managed to do it all while staying almost completely invisible. Let's break it down. The candy empire, the Mars family. Our journey begins with candy, lots of it. The Mars family story started in 1911 when a man named Frank Mars began making candy in his kitchen in Tacoma, Washington. It was a humble beginning, just homemade treats for a small market. But Frank had a gift. He understood what people craved, and over time, that gift became an empire. Today, Mars Inc. is a global powerhouse. You probably know the products without even thinking twice: M&M's, Snickers, Twix, Skittles, Orbit, Extra, Milky Way, and so many more. But here's the kicker: they don't just stop at candy. The Mars company also owns massive pet food brands like Pedigree, Whiskas, Royal Canin, and they even run veterinary hospitals across the US and Europe. Yes, the people who sell you chocolate also take care of your dog's health care. 100% family-owned, and still in the shadows. You might think that a company this massive would be on the stock market. After all, it's valued at over $100 billion. But no, Mars Inc. is still 100% family-owned. That means every dollar flows back into the Mars family. No shareholders, no public investors, no quarterly earnings calls. Just one very rich, very quiet family running a global food business behind closed doors. They've made a deliberate choice to stay out of the spotlight. You won't find them trending on social media or giving interviews to Forbes. In fact, most people wouldn't even recognize a Mars family member if they walked by them on the street. For them, privacy isn't just a lifestyle. It's a business strategy. Why the secrecy? So why does one of the richest families in America work so hard to stay invisible? The answer is simple: control. By staying private, they avoid the pressure that comes with public ownership. No need to explain their decisions to investors. No journalists digging into their board meetings. No headlines when profits fall short. They can buy companies, expand into new markets, or shut down divisions, all without anyone outside the family knowing what's really going on. And that control has allowed them to expand far beyond candy. Today, Mars is also a major player in pet care, food science, health tech, and more. They've quietly built a multi-industry empire without ever stepping into the spotlight. The other hidden giant, the Cargill family. If the Mars family is secretly feeding your sweet tooth, then the Cargill family is quietly feeding the rest of the world. Founded way back in 1865 by William Wallace Cargill, the company started as a small grain warehouse in Iowa. That's it. One warehouse, one idea. Fast forward to today, and Cargill Inc. is one of the largest private companies in the world. It operates in over 70 countries, employs over 150,000 people, and pulls in more than $160 billion in revenue annually. But despite its size, most people have never heard the name. That's not a coincidence. Like Mars, Cargill is a family business. It's owned by over 100 family shareholders, most of whom are descendants of the original founder. And just like Mars, they avoid the public eye. What does Cargill actually do? Cargill isn't a brand you'll see on grocery store shelves. They don't make snacks or pet food. Instead, they handle the raw materials, the stuff other companies need to make food. Cargill controls grain corn, soybeans, cocoa beef, poultry, vegetable oils, and even chocolate ingredients for candy brands. They own farms, factories, shipping ports, and trading networks that stretch across continents. They supply the raw ingredients that companies like Nestle, PepsiCo, General Mills, and even Mars Inc. use in their products. If Mars makes the candy, Cargill likely supplied the sugar or cocoa. Their business is the infrastructure of global food, and they run it like a well-oiled machine. Quiet influence with global reach. What's fascinating about Cargill is how far their influence reaches without ever being seen. Their control over commodity markets means they can influence prices around the world. When they buy soybeans in Brazil or corn in the US, they impact prices in Africa, Asia, and Europe. In some regions, farmers say that Cargill's decisions directly affect their ability to survive. And yet the public barely knows who's calling the shots. Like Mars, they don't have to explain their actions to anyone. No public investors, no press briefings, no accountability to the broader market. This kind of control is incredibly rare. No shareholders, no transparency, just power. Here's something that sets both families apart. They don't answer to anyone outside their inner circle. There are no shareholders demanding quarterly updates, no public earnings reports, no government-mandated disclosures. If they decide to buy 100,000 acres of farmland or raise prices on cocoa, they can do it. No questions asked. That level of independence allows them to move faster, act bigger, and stay quieter than any publicly traded company. It's not just wealth, it's autonomy. And in today's world, that might be the most valuable asset of all. What's at stake for the rest of us? Now you might be thinking, okay, but why does any of this matter to me? Here's why. These families don't just make food. They help set the prices, control the supply, and shape what options exist in the first place. When Mars decides what to sell, they influence what snacks fill the shelves. When Cargill shifts a shipping route, it can change global food availability. They're making quiet decisions that ripple across the entire world. And because they operate so far behind the scenes, there's very little public oversight. You may not vote for them, you may not know their names, but in a way, they help shape how the world eats. What makes this different from other billionaires? You've heard of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Warren Buffett. They're famous. We talk about them all the time. But the Mars and Cargill families? They've built equal or greater levels of power without needing any public attention. It's not just wealth. It's about running systems we all rely on without drawing headlines. They've mastered the art of invisible control. And in some ways, that's even more powerful than fame. Because while public figures get questioned, debated, and criticized, hidden ones don't. Generational wealth, quiet legacy. Both families have passed their empires through generations, teaching the next ones how to stay rich and stay hidden. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's effective. The Mars family has been quietly building their candy-to-healthcare empire for over 100 years. The Cargill family has been feeding the world for over 150. These aren't overnight successes. These are generational machines built to last. The next time you tear open a candy bar, drizzle oil into a pan, or scoop food into your pet's bowl, take a moment to think, who's really behind all of this? Because more often than not, the trail leads back to two incredibly powerful, but almost completely invisible families, the Mars and the Cargills. They aren't interested in fame, and you won't catch them on the cover of business magazines or giving TED Talks. Their strategy is silence. And through that silence, they've built empires that reach into nearly every corner of the global food system. They don't just produce food, they influence prices, supply chains, and what's even available in the first place. In a world where visibility often equals power, these families have quietly proven that the greatest power of all might be operating in the shadows, controlling the essentials of life itself. If this story opened your eyes to how hidden influence really works, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about secret empires, powerful families, and the quiet forces shaping our everyday lives. There's so much more beneath the surface. Until next time, stay curious.